Things are so bad right now for the Liberal Party of Canada. I am seeing Liberal influencers and organizers online celebrating a new Leger poll that only has the Liberals at 25%, 18% behind the Conservatives' 43%, but apparently this is great progress. Liberal talking head here, Evan Scrimshaw, says that's an 8-point swing since the last Leger poll. That's now 5 pollsters showing a 5% swing or higher this month. Ecos, Main Street, Abacus, Leisure, Angus Reid. Okay, well, the problem is Abacus, Leger, and Angus Reid all show the Liberals only in the mid 20s and the Conservatives still in the mid 40s. You're not going to win this next federal election. And then Ecos is showing the Liberals only 5% behind the Conservatives, but Ecos's polls are so cattywampus. Who would even trust them? They have the Greens at 18% in the polls in Atlantic Canada and the PPC at 10% in Atlantic Canada and 12% in the prairies. I wouldn't trust those. But the Liberals are so desperate they will literally believe any push poll that they see online to convince themselves that Canadians will give them a fourth chance. They will not. But the topic of this video today is why is there even Canadians supporting the Liberal Party anymore? And I want to go through the real reasons why there are still people who will legitimately vote Liberal, as well as those who seem to be only voting Liberal out of an idea that they're not conservative. Because this is what I mean when I say that there is a lot of Stockholm Syndrome inside the Liberal Party support base right now. People who vote Liberal because they vote Liberal and they're not conservative, so they vote Liberal. Have the Liberals actually delivered anything good? No, but these people will list you all the stupid programs they've created, even though they know in their own hearts and minds that they have not actually helped Canadians. I always like when people list all of the new programs the government creates as an achievement, even though we all know from an objective standpoint that if Harper was still the prime minister, we wouldn't even need these programs because everyone would be better off. But for some reason, in liberal circles, you get credit for bringing a package of band-aids to try and fix a wound that you caused. I don't get it, but this is just how people are thinking. But before I get more into it, guys, remember, like this video, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 100,000 new subscribers by mid-December, and then also leave a comment. Really helps us out in the algorithms. But without further ado, there is some polling I want to highlight right now because it really does demonstrate just how maddeningly committed certain people are to the Liberal Party. Actually, before I get into that, I just want to show you this. Sorry, I have moved over to the dark side because I am wearing the new communist uniform of Canada, which is the gray sweater with a popping out light colored shirt on top. I am now evil because I've put on the evil outfit. Hope you all forgive me. I just found that very funny. I didn't even try to do that. I saw that post last night by Marty up north, but it never connected in my head when I was donning the sweater. I'm just feeling very sweaterish these days and, didn't want to put on jackets all the time. So I am now Sweater Wyatt. But that means I'm also a liberal, apparently. But yeah, that was funny that Marty up north posted that. And then this just happened to work out. But look at this polling of first all Canadians. And the all Canadians result is already bad enough. But then you get to the Liberals' impressions of the main leadership candidates, and it's wild. I don't care about going through Karina Gould's numbers because they don't really matter. She's a complete also-ran candidate. But look at this. Leader net favorables. With all Canadians, Mark Carney has a net favorable rating of plus 13. Freeland only has a -1, and Gould has a -4 for whatever that means to you. But Carney has a plus 13. And let's be clear, like conservatives, probably NDP and Greens and Bloc all don't really like him. There's probably some red Tories in there thinking, oh, he's a very respectable man. He cuts a good jib and wears a good gray sweater. But look at the liberal numbers. Carney plus 59. Freeland plus 54. If you ever poll conservatives in their leadership races of what they think about their candidates, the numbers tend to be more realistic. Yes, Jean Charest is a conservative. Yes, Leslyn Lewis, Pierre Poilievre, Scott Aitchison, Roman Baber are conservatives, but conservatives will have very wildly different opinions on each one of them because it's not a cult. It's not a cult where you have to like anyone who's wearing the uniform. But inside the Liberal Party and also inside the NDP, there is such a mentality that you follow the party because you follow the party, like I was referring to before. They could hurt you every single year they're in government, passing policies that make your life worse, mass immigration lowering per capita incomes, lowering social cohesion. Crime is literally up. Violent crime, which is a statistic that cannot be cheated because no one's ever going to decriminalize murder or like assault, that those numbers are up 49% since 2015. But these people, knowing that stuff, living life and knowing there's more crime around them, I will see liberals online support the policies of the liberals that are increasing violent crime because, well, overall crime since 2015 is only up 7% or 10%. And our population has grown enough that technically crime's down. The problem with that perspective is crime happens in a geographic area. If your neighborhood originally had 400 people in it, it's not a very well developed area, and then in time there's like 2,500 people, would you be okay with a certain amount of vandalism, a certain amount of drug sales, certain amount of assault going on? Because the population's gone up, so relatively crime's gone down because there are 4 stabbings on the street and there weren't any before. But when you take into account the population, our part of the town's like 8 times bigger, and we've only gotten 4 stabbings. That's not how stuff works. But I will see liberals defending policy failures because, well, hey, did you read this study? This study tells you that it's actually okay for more people to be ODing because our per capita ODing rate is actually going down because we have people getting injected by Narcan kits every 5 seconds. So more people, raw total, are dying every year, but the amount of times to overdose before you die has gone up. You have to overdose like 10 times before you die of a drug overdose rather than just 3 like it was in the Harper years. Oh, those horrible Harper years back when less people did drugs. There was less crime. It is Stockholm Syndrome to believe that any of these people are going to fix the problems, but people like to be fooled. Look at this. Who should replace Trudeau? All Canadians, and this is only asking them obviously about Liberal Party candidates, you have people, all Canadians, saying 34% Carney, 14% Freeland, 4% Gould. That's at least a realistic type number because it's basically saying who do you recognize the name of? And Carney's been blasted over every single media outlet everywhere you can see in the last month or so. So that I can see why 34% of Canadians would say Carney if they had to choose. But Liberals, 57% are going to vote for Mark Carney basically because Trudeau told them to. 17% only voting Freeland or saying they'd vote Freeland. Obviously, these are not all Liberal members, so the actual opinions of Liberal members paying more attention might be completely different. Ruby Dalla might win, in fact, but 57% of people are voting Carney. And again, make no mistake, it's because Team Trudeau's backing him. So they wanted Trudeau himself out because he was a mess. But these same people are like, please fool me again. Please just tell me it's all going to be all right. Whisper sweet nothings about how big Mark Carney's resume is in my ear, and I will vote for him. I'll pretend he's great. Poilievre bad. Why? Nah. He's a career politician. You guys have tons of career politicians in your party. Who cares? Also, his results are good. Your results suck. It's actually one of those things that makes me somewhat agree with Stephen Michael Davis on YouTube. He's a libertarian YouTuber, and I generally agree with his point, and he's making more of making more of a deep point with us, not making an overarching point, but he says that democracy is overrated. Not that we shouldn't vote on things or have issues be dealt with in the public through people being able to input their opinions. But democracy is overrated because there are so many people who do not take the issues seriously. There are people who are pensioners, people who are public sector employees, all these individuals who truly do not care about the realities of the country. They have their pension and their entire vote is all to do with the pension. And I'm not trying to make that up. The demographic right now that the Liberals do the best with across all polling is people 65 years and older. And if you're watching this channel and you're in that age demographic, I guarantee you do not agree with other people in that age demographic group. But still, that's maddening that there are people who will basically wreck the country, import literally a million people a year into Canada as temporary foreign workers and whatnot to keep feeding the pensions. That's actually delusional and dysfunctional. That there are people who do not think of the country past like very minute personal financial matters. That I might be able to get more money by the government taxing other people more and then them paying me into my pension. What? And then you get government workers who literally will vote so that nobody ever gets fired from doing useless fake jobs. There are so many fake jobs in Canada, it's nuts. Do you think all those consultants in the Liberal government right now are grinding it out every day, coming up with very functional products and services? Not a chance. Imagine going to work every day, getting paid six figures, and not feeling the imposter syndrome of knowing that you might as well just play Tetris all day and it wouldn't have affected anyone's lives. You doing your job or not doing your job doesn't matter because your job is useless in the first place. This is what the Liberal government and the Liberal support base is made up of. It's pure voting other people's money to yourself. I know that people's pensions are important and you should have your pension paid for. Also, we should make sure inflation doesn't go up so we don't have to keep increasing pensions to keep up with the fact that everything's becoming unaffordable. But there are certain groups of people in Canada who only vote for the most one-dimensional things, just no care for the country. And these same people back Doug Ford and Justin Trudeau's Team Canada approach to the US tariff issue. Instead of dealing with border security and actually increasing military spending so that Trump can't say that he's subsidizing us anymore, no, let's have a fight over tariffs. Let's enter a trade war. All these people want to enter a trade war who have been advocating for higher taxes on upper income people and businesses and whatnot, ruin our own economy domestically. But then as soon as Trump comes around, he wants to put a tariff on us potentially. Suddenly, let's go to war. Let's get into fighting mode. You guys are not even in reality. If you're going to kick the economy in the stomach for decades, advocating against every pipeline, and again, I'm just talking generally to the 25% still voting Liberal and the 16 still voting NDP. You're going to keep voting for politicians who kick the economy, the private sector, the resource sector in the stomach. And then when Trump comes around and might want to put a tariff on us, now it's serious mode. Are you going to advocate for tax reductions now to make our economy more competitive? Nah. Let's have a relief package that gives me more money for doing nothing. Let's have a bigger relief package so that I can survive the tariffs that I have helped spur on by electing the worst possible politicians to deal with the border, to deal with our economy, to deal with our military, all this other stuff. Let's just make sure that people who are currently working in the economy have it harder because I want to feel good and progressive in who I vote for. Children. There are so many people who are 15-year-olds their entire life. They have a 15-year-old mentality their entire life. Have you ever watched these channels like Caleb Hammer and other individuals who just financially audit people who are in their like late 20s or 30s who truly don't understand the value of money and they're in like massive debt because they've never thought about it? That's the people running our government. That is many of the people voting for these people in the government. People who don't understand how to save money, and then they blame it on those who do save money for all their problems. This is why there is so much Stockholm Syndrome in the Liberal Party right now, because we can't be the problem. Our voting patterns, our spending patterns, all this stuff cannot be the problem. It's other people's problems. It's obviously the problem of those nasty conservatives who aren't even in government right now because they would do vaguely bad things that I can't even detail out if they were in. Good job, guys. Good job. And now we're going to have to wait until October for the next election because Ford and Trudeau are doing the stupid Team Canada thing. And Ford wants an election because Ford is a complete narcissist. And although he is the leader of this Team Canada movement, which Scott Moe and Danielle Smith are doing a good job of mostly avoiding getting involved with, that he is putting himself in front of the country despite him being Mr. Team Canada. Canada's not for sale. By the way, let me have a year and a half early election because Ford wants another 4 years before Poilievre becomes prime minister and the standards for what a conservative are go up. because Ford is not a conservative. I have seen people in my comments who make the asinine assumption that I have to vote Ford again or the liberals could get in. Name me a difference between Bonnie Crombie and Doug Ford. In fact, Bonnie Crombie was actually less pro lockdown than Doug Ford was during COVID. She has the same subsidy mentality towards the economy, the same green energy boondoggle programs that Ford funds that she would fund. Ford and the Trudeau Liberals have gone in on so many subsidy programs together. They both subsidized the stupid cricket factory in wherever that was in Ontario. Both of the governments did that. The Trudeau Liberals got all the heat because, frankly, there is a lot of conservative media in this country who will never mention that Ford has failed on all those things because you don't want to not get invited to the party. But, like, it's nuts out there. All the things that the Ford government has done, and you'll still have people saying, well, I can't have Crombie and the far left win. They're literally the same. They are both surface level against the carbon tax, but they both back industrial carbon taxes. What else? What else are you voting for Ford? It's Stockholm Syndrome for the Ford PCs as well. I can't leave him. I love him. No, you don't. Stop it. Stop voting Liberal. Stop voting PC. If they are failing on policy, stop voting for them. Vote for the new Blue Party in Ontario. Vote for the federal Conservatives nationally. My goodness, people. This is a long rant, but I feel like I have to go on it every time I see these like ridiculous poll numbers where people are just like, oh, let's vote Liberal again. Why? Oh, it's because Poilievre's far right. Here's Jagmeet Singh trying to justify himself and now basically holding off on a no confidence vote.
There are some people that are losing hope. So I want to speak directly to those folks. For folks that are worried and maybe afraid of Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, I want you to know that we are building a movement. That for folks that are afraid of the Conservatives and people who feel let down by the Liberals, stand with us. We are building a movement, and together we can fight and we can win. And I know
you are afraid of Pierre Poilievre. If you are afraid of Pierre Poilievre, take some lithium and stop voting, because you're not at the capacity to vote in an election. If Pierre Poilievre cutting wasteful spending is terrifying to you, what?
No, Canadians believe in a universal healthcare system. They believe in our system. They want it to be stronger. So
when were the Conservatives going to end the universal healthcare system? That's never been on the cards.
But anyone who wants to protect our healthcare system, join us. For anyone out there that thinks pensions should be there and should be even stronger,
that pensions should be there and be stronger. The fear-mongering, the Stockholm Syndrome fear-mongering that you better not leave me or the Conservatives are going to get rid of your pension. That's not even real. When has any Conservative proposed getting rid of pensions? Ever. It's never happened. But Jagmeet Singh and Trudeau and the Liberals and Carney and Freeland to a lesser extent play on the utter just facile stupidity of some people willing to just keep voting because there is a fantasy book they once read where the Conservatives push their grandmother down the stairs in her wheelchair and then they like stole her pension out of her back pocket. Never happened. Literally has never happened. But you will have people, mostly people with way too much time on their hands, talking about all the Conservatives they're gonna cut, and don't you remember how bad it was when the Conservatives were around? It might be bad if you're a lazy do-nothing who doesn't actually work when the Conservatives are around, but I feel like that's good universal justice, that you don't get much when you don't do anything. Anyways, that's it for me today, guys. Like, share, and subscribe. A bit of a rant video, but I'll see you guys later.